Holy City Center Radio is episode 113, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Monday, April 23rd, 2023. Well, it's Monday. Hopefully you had a great weekend at least. I know, Mondays are tough. Certainly, even though I'm recording this on Sunday, I can let you know it was a hard time for me to get up this morning, I'm sure. Always rough, but you know what? We got a good episode for you here today. Yes, we always have some news, some stuff that you just wish we didn't have to talk about. But I've also got some food and bev news and, a little bit more fun episode this time around, which is good. Like I said, hope you all had a great weekend. Mine was all right. Not too exciting. Nothing really to report back on. Been watching shows, catching up on all these series that seem to come out all at once. Finished up The Mandalorian's most recent season. It was pretty good. If you like the other seasons, I think you'll certainly like this one. I'm also watching the new season of Yellow Jackets, which is a show on Showtime. I really enjoyed the first season. Second season's been pretty good. I'm not too sure where the direction it's been going. No spoilers, don't worry. But still been enjoying that. There's also a new series called Waco: The Aftermath. There was a series about the Waco siege, like a mini series a few years back. And this is essentially the sequel to that, which follows up, what the Waco siege led to as far as radicalizing people in this country, leading to the Oklahoma City bombing and so on and so forth. There's only been a couple episodes of that so far, but I've been enjoying it just like I liked the miniseries from a few years ago. I'm sure there's some other things. Oh, Ted Lasso has been back as well and has been really good. I've enjoyed the season so far. I think they've done a really good job. And yeah, just a lot of television. I know you've probably heard this before. We're in the golden age of television. It certainly seems that way because there's so many different streaming networks that there's so many more shows than, that we are used to back in the days of just regular cable. And so much good stuff is out there. So, just been trying to knock out all these great shows that are on and but still trying to, get out of my house once in a while as well. All right, enough about me. Let's move on. We've got an update on the Isle of Palms situation. You may remember, I believe it was last week, that some emails obtained from the Charleston and Isle of Palms police departments. These emails came out after a Freedom of Information Act request, showed that they arrested a third person on the night of the shooting, a 17-year-old who was driving a stolen car matching the description of one that belonged to the suspects from the shooting. That was the third arrest. As I mentioned, there was two on during the actual day of the shooting. All three of those arrests were for different charges, but none of which were the shooting itself. Well, now that we have a fourth arrest that just happened this past week, again, there's a connection to this April shooting that occurred on the Isle of Palms beach. An 18-year-old named Zaire Malik Criswell, who is from Somerville, was arrested on Friday morning by the Isle of Palms Police Department, SLED agents, and Somerville police. He was charged with unlawful carrying of a pistol. So that is now the fourth person to be arrested. As I mentioned before, the three others were on similar charges of, unlawful carry. And then the other one we mentioned, who was in that stolen car. So that April 7th shooting, if you don't remember, it injured 5 people, including 4 teenage boys, a 28-year-old woman as well. And the teenagers that were injured, there was 2 15-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and a 17-year-old. It was devastating, as I'm sure you all remember, and scary. And now we have 4 arrests, but still no word on who the shooter was. So that investigation continues. All right, let's jump into some sports, entertainment, food, some good news. Well, sort of. It's good news that we're talking about these things, but unfortunately, the first story involves our South Carolina Stingrays. Unfortunately, they lost the first game of the postseason. They lost to the Florida Everblades by a score of 5-0 in the opening matchup of the 2023 Kelly Cup playoffs. The game happened on Saturday night at the North Charleston Coliseum. So they've had an incredible year, and a bummer that they've lost game 1. Thankfully, this isn't like, the NFL playoffs say, where it's one and done. It's a series, and game 2 is tonight. Also at the North Charleston Coliseum. Puck drop is set for 7:05 p.m. Tickets are still available, so get on out there, cheer on the Stingrays before This could be their last game at the Coliseum this season if things don't go well in the series. If extra games are needed, games 6 and 7 will be back here at the Coliseum. But this could be your last chance. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully they pull out the victory here and go on to win the series. But we'll definitely keep you posted. All right. Now, some food and beverage news. The Neighborhood Dining Group, and if you don't know who they are the team behind some very popular Charleston restaurants, Husk, namely, Delaney Oyster House, and Monero. They announced that they have a new restaurant concept coming to James Island. The restaurant will be called The James, and it can be found at 1939A Maybank Highway, which is where Zia Taqueria was most recently in until it closed earlier this year. So the restaurant group says the James will be an American grill that is offering classic fare in a family-friendly atmosphere. So not too many details outside of that, but and it's hard to glean from that what exactly it'll be like. I mean, we all have an idea of what an American grill is: classic fare and family friendly. I'm sure it'll be warm and welcoming, but it'll be interesting to see like what's on the menu. When you hear American grill, you sometimes wonder like, okay, is this just going to be like burgers, some chicken wings, or is this going to be a little bit more elevated than that? Judging by the other restaurant concepts, I would imagine it's going to be high quality food, a little bit more elevated. But hopefully, if you're a family friendly concept, hopefully the prices won't be too bad. And since they're located on James Island, maybe it won't be as expensive as, say, a downtown restaurant opening with the same concept. So I'll certainly keep you posted once more details are released. There has been no set opening date they're aiming for this summer, though. Also opening, a Alabama-based breakfast restaurant chain plans to open a second location in the Charleston area. That concept is Big Bad Breakfast, who you may be familiar with as they have a location downtown. They plan to take over the spot that was vacated back in January by Cabana Burgers and Shakes. That location is at 2664 Highway 17 near the recently opened Bohemian Bowl restaurant over in Mount Pleasant. The restaurant will be open from 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. daily. They'll be serving a full breakfast menu along with some lunch items like, sandwiches, burgers, salads. And they'll also have alcoholic beverages, think mimosas, beer, and wine. So yes, if you've never been to Big Bad Breakfast downtown, I've had it a couple times, really enjoyed it. I mean, you can't beat breakfast food, right? And this is a pretty sweet restaurant. The food is high quality, it's tasty. Prices, downtown can be a little much, but not too bad if I remember correctly. But I'm excited another version of this restaurant will be opening over in Mount Pleasant, giving some more people a chance to try it out. Sticking with food and beverage, and although not local, some of you might be very interested in this. Beginning on April 27th and only for a limited time, McDonald's, yes, I know, McDonald's, will release Big Mac sauce dip cups at participating restaurants across the Greater Carolinas and East Georgia. That does include McDonald's here, of course, in South Carolina. The only way to get your hands on this new product is to order the cups via the McDonald's app, so you do have to download their app. I don't believe it's a big deal. You don't have to pay for the app itself. I think it's just a way that you can order food in advance, whether you're picking up inside or at the drive-thru. But that's the way you can get your hands on this Big Mac sauce dip cup. So if you can't tell from the very straightforward name, the very iconic and famous Big Mac sauce found on their Big Mac burgers, of course, will now be available in little cups where you can dip, say, your fries in or maybe your chicken McNuggets or what have you. So any McDonald's fans out there, or maybe if you just really love that sauce, April 27th, you'll be able to order the dip cups with any purchase whatsoever. It seems that the big recommendation is to dip chicken nuggets in it, but the restaurant in their press release also had some, apparently they've released these in other areas previously. They had some social media quotes from just, random people saying, oh, I tried it on the filet of fish, or I tried it on this sandwich or this burger. And yes, so really you can do whatever you want with it. And I know some people who really enjoy that sauce, so I'm sure this will be a popular item. Just for a little background about this iconic Big Mac, it's been on the McDonald's menu since 1968. I didn't realize it had been that long, but yes, I'm not surprised to hear this. I know Restaurants always trying out new things, and when you have like a sauce that is associated specifically with your brand, it's only a matter of time before you start offering it on its own somehow. So yes, fans of the Big Mac sauce, your day is coming, April 27th. And now on to some events that are coming up that people always seem to be pretty interested in. So I wanted to be sure to share that. As you've noticed outside, it's getting warmer and warmer as we're approaching summer. And that means Party at the Point is returning to the Charleston Harbor Resort and Marina. For those who aren't familiar, this is the event series where there's each week a new band is performing. There's food and drinks. You're outside. You're right on the harbor, so you can see the water. There's you can get pretty close. There's a walkway, like a boardwalk basically, that you could just overlook the harbor. Plenty of food and drink options. They also usually have little games and activities. I think there's like a giant Connect Four board, if I remember correctly. Whether it's kids or adults playing, and yeah, you can sit back and relax in one of the chairs or get up close to the stage and dance. Enjoy the nice weather. Like I said, people seem to really enjoy this event series. It's been around for many years. Tickets are $10. Kids 12 and under are free. And each show will run from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Charleston Harbor Resort and Marina, for those who don't know, is located at 20 Patriots Point Road in Mount Pleasant. The first event in the series will be May 5th. It then basically runs every week, give or take, until July 7th. Some of the bands they have performing include some local talent like The Reckoning and Soul Driven Train, Midnight City, Motown Throwdown, as well as some popular cover bands like the Dave Matthews Tribute Band, Departure, which is a Journey tribute band. There's also going to be a Rock the 90s group, and Mr. Fahrenheit, who is a tribute to Queen. There's a few other bands that will be performing. You can see the full list in the show notes. And as I mentioned, yes, Party at the Point kicking back off on May 5th. And finally, last event news. This is one of those events when I first heard about it, when I was doing the site, I was like, oh, okay, this seems pretty cool. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few people that are interested in it. And it blew up the first time I shared it. It is always popular. I wasn't even thinking, people love to read. And if you're a big reader, what's better than a big book sale where you can get an assortment of novels, fiction, nonfiction, some classics, foreign language, gardening, cooking, whatever it may be, for really cheap prices. So if you haven't figured it out already, I'm talking about That Big Book Sale, which is put on each year by the Charleston Friends of the Library, a group that helps support the Charleston County Public Library system. This will be the 41st annual version of the event. This year's is running from May 19th to the 21st. They actually have the first night being May 18th, but it's a members-only pre-sale. So you can become a member of the Charleston Friends of the Library and then have early access to these books. You're not going to miss out. There may be a book or two if you're not a member that you will miss out on if they don't have a lot of copies, but you're not going to miss out on something because they plan on having over 60,000 books at this event at the Omar Shrine Auditorium in Mount Pleasant. It is the largest fundraiser of the year for the Charleston Friends of the Library. Like I said, they have all sorts of genres, and prices start as low as just $1. I've been a couple times. I still have books that I haven't gotten to because I purchased so many because, again, they're so inexpensive. And they run the gamut. Like I said, there's some brand new books that are in there as well as some that have been out for a few years. But you could easily walk out of there with a bag full of books and not having to spend a lot of money at all. So I highly recommend it if you're a reader or have been wanting to find that new book to read on the beach or at home, whatever it may be. Be sure to check it out, and you can get more details again in the show notes, but it will be kicking off May 19th. And that'll do it for this episode of Holy City Center Radio. Happy to bring you mostly good news. I love talking about events and fun things going on in town. That's why I started the site to begin with, and a much happier podcast. Hopefully many more of those, and less to talk about in the news, of course. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast, you can help out in several ways. One, of course, is to share this with whoever else you think may enjoy listening. You can also go rate, review, like, subscribe, whatever your streaming platform allows you to do. It's quick, it's easy, and it'll help me out. So please consider doing that. You can also go to patreon.com/Holy City Center to sign up for one of those tiers. And then if you prefer, you could go to holycitycenter.com/shop and pick up some merchandise. There's hats, t-shirts, koozies, all sorts of good stuff there. All that supports the website, podcast, and everything else. I also need to thank Lindsay Marie Collins of LMC Sound System for producing this and every episode of Holy City Center Radio. And of course, a big thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each episode as well. I hope this episode is helping you get a good start to your week. Don't worry, I'll be back on Wednesday with more news and talk. So just when this is starting to fade away, a brand new episode will show up and get you caught up on everything going on here in Charleston. Until Wednesday, good night and good luck.